what it costs. I hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah.
What is up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy CPI Day to all those who celebrate. I know some of you do. You act like you don't, but you do. Got CPI out a few moments ago. We're in 2%. Well, 2.5%, but we're back. It was 9. Now it's 2. Great. Awesome. We'll talk about that a little bit probably, but we've got charts, lots of them. So let's get to that. Guest today is David Zarling. He brought with him a bevy of charts. We'll talk to him at 9. We'll talk to Mary as we do every Wednesday. Maybe we'll give our thoughts. Hopefully not too many on the debate, but I watched it, which I didn't think I was gonna, but I did. So anyway, that's what we got. What up, chat? How we doing? Here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that CPI just came out. Steve, was it as good for you as it was for me? I truly enjoyed it. I honestly, this was probably, I'm not going to lie. I think I came to a conclusion. Steve, today's CPI report was the happiest that any CPI report has ever made me. Do you know why?
I have no idea.
The giggles coming from Spencer Israel and how giddy he was and how excited he was for America when that number came out. I truly don't understand what it is that he was so excited about. Oh boy, was he thrilled to see that number. Spencer Israel, can you
symbolic.
Share, can you share with us?
See, the year-over-year inflation rate was like 2.5% from like 2017 until COVID, right?
No, like our whole lives, actually. But go on.
Yeah, okay. Longer than that, but
so historically, 2.5% inflation rate is like standard.
Yeah, 2 to 2.5% is standard. That's what the Fed tried to keep it at in the last regime, right? And that's what they're saying it was last month. So how about that?
So normal.
Now, is that any reason to do a double rate cut?
Hold on, I want to know why that makes Spencer Israel so excited.
Well, we were at 9%.
I haven't seen you this giddy since we were at the buffet in New Jersey that one time.
What? That's not even a thing. We were at 9% a couple years ago. That wasn't fun for anybody. So
it didn't last. It didn't last very long either.
Speaking of giddy, Strazza, pull up your coffee mug there.
Oh yeah.
Hold on.
Shout out Morningstar. Go to the Morningstar booth at Future Proof next week. They have the best gear.
So Strazza, a few years ago, we were at the Future Proof conference, and he runs up to me. He's like, JC, you got to go to the Morningstar booth. They're giving away Yetis.
Good value. Good value. Talk about
Hold on. I want to address something. Stock market Mike, that Spencer believes his numbers. Do I think the numbers from the government this morning are like 100% correct? No, of course not. They're definitely not all the way right because they revise it constantly. They're revising everything, right? They revise the jobs number every single time. So no, I don't like fully believe this, but I like mostly believe it. Like it's in the ballpark, right? It's not way off. It's not 5% from here, right?
That's not even the point. You're right about all that. It's right. It is what it is. The number, right? They do revise it, sure.
Yeah.
But the more important point is that the market's going to move on it, whether it's true or not. So it matters.
Yeah. There you go.
Why don't we hit the state of the markets, my good friends?
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after this infamous CPI report, we got the Dow futures down 230 points. That's about 0.5%, giving back a little bit of the gains over the last couple of days. S&P 500 futures down 20 points, just under 5,500. NASDAQ 100 futures down 1/3%, down 70 points, 18,800. 30-year bond futures down 1/3%, 126.5. Crude oil up 2.25%, Back up to 67.25. Copper up over 1%, 4.15 this morning. Gold down 1/3%, 25.30. Silver down silver up almost a full percent, just under $29, with the volatility index back down to 19. Over in funny money land, we've got Bitcoin down 1,000 points. That's 2% to the downside, 56,500. Ethereum down almost 3%, 2,320. Solana down 3%, 131. Binance flat on the day, 515. Total crypto market cap, Spencer Israel, 1.95 trillion, with the Bitcoin dominance still above 57%. How do we feel about that this morning?
Bunch of nothing burgers.
Bunch of nothing burgers?
Mm-hmm.
Futures were pretty much flat. CPI comes out, knocked them down a little bit, but looks like a non-event so far. The commodities are liking it, ex gold, right? Copper, oil, silver, all up across the board. So those are making moves.
Yep. I'm
So
interested.
not a nothing burger in the commodity space. Dollars down as well. That's what stands out to me. All right, let's get into last night. So who watched?
What I want to know is how long you made it.
I watched the whole
I
thing.
want to know. I made it 45 minutes, which is longer than I would have given myself credit for, but I did.
I missed the whole thing.
It was pretty terrible.
Was it terrible?
It was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch. The other one, the last one was hard to watch, but I was at a bar and making money because I had China. So it was better to watch, but this one was pretty bad. I saw like a YouTube video, Megyn Kelly going off, talking about how Kamala Harris's best friend runs ABC and it was 3 against 1. And then I also saw how
so we noticed that
I one more thing I saw, then you guys can tell me if that's true. And then I also saw that she abused Trump. She kind of like baited him a few times, trying to get under his skin, and that worked pretty well. Is that right?
Yeah. She like said the one thing that is guaranteed to get him, which is she made fun of his rallies and the crowd sizes. It's like the guaranteed.
Dude,
it's
crazy.
Talking about crowd sizes, right?
This is an 80-year-old man, and you can literally get him to lose his mind by talking about the size of his parties.
Yeah.
The ego is strong with some of these males, Strazza.
Dude, it's
very fragile. Very fragile.
Bitcoin pumped and dumped as soon as he started falling in the polls. It seems like the betting markets were starting to price in like a Trump debate victory, because if you look at predicted, you throw up the predicted, it basically came to even just before last night, and then I think there was a 4-point move in each direction. Yeah, so Trump went from 52 back down to 47. And she went from 53 to 57 or something, or 52 to 57.
I don't know who won, quote unquote, won the debate. I don't think it matters. Probably nobody won the debate, and the candidate that you support won the debate. How about that? Whoever you support, they won the debate.
He got wrecked, and I think it's even worse against expectations, because I think there was an expectation that he would win.
I actually, maybe the bar is though, but I thought he was like, for the most part, sanguine and like calm, even though he said some weird stuff. He was like, he's got to mellow
on the communist stuff and just talk about taxes and like just keep it to that and stop with the crazy stuff and people eating their pets. And
dude, that was when I looked at the clock.
What was that all about? People eating their pets?
That moment was when I looked at the clock and I was like, I think this might be the end for me.
Well, no, we didn't understand what we had just heard. We had to rewind it and listen again.
Yeah.
Hold on, throw up the next, throw up the slide 3 that shows the predicted over the last 10 hours, really moving towards Harris and then flattening out, and Trump kind of slipping to the downside, continuing to slip to the downside. And then if you look at the poly market, which is the more liquid of the two, what do you got there on the poly market? Kamala up at 50%. Trump down to 49. Trump had a pretty solid lead. Like I think it was like an 8% lead a couple days ago, right?
You know how you know that Trump didn't win? Regional banks are down today.
I have another one.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question, right? So getting to actual important things, not
Wait.
Harris.
What about the DJT? What about the DJT?
There's no bigger election trade than the regional banks.
Yeah, regional banks, Bitcoin. What else, Strazza?
Bitcoin too. Almost surprising just how much it did move last night. Look at
So,
silver.
so regional banks are up this morning,
Yep.
right? So you're saying that is a pro-Trump situation?
No, regional banks are down. What are you talking about?
Regional banks are, I mean, they're flat, but they're green in a red tape.
I'm seeing down 0.8%. No.
There's no liquidity right now in the KRE. Is that what you're looking at, KRE?
Yeah, pre-market.
I got it flat. I got it up a few pennies.
I'm seeing down almost 1%. So
with you people.
whatever. But I think banks are going to be down today, and banks will go down as Kamala rises, and banks will go up in price as Trump rises in the odds.
And then what about the Bitcoin? So Trump media is down 14% in the pre-market.
Yeah.
So that one is pretty. That's a lot more. That's more of a pure play there, Strazza.
So I was thinking about this, and I thought that the performance of DJT this morning would indicate whether Trump won or lost. But then I thought that's dumb. But then I thought, is it any dumber than whatever anybody else says? Probably not, right? So maybe this says it all about Trump's performance.
Strazza's right. Regional banks down 80 basis points here pre-market.
Hold on, and one more. Just let's have fun with this conversation for now. Not doing anything with this. Throw up the first chart. So you don't want to overthink this, because look at what solar energy stocks did under Trump, and then look at what they did under Biden. But I think solar's also a big election trade here. And the index itself, if you look at TAN, it's just, digging in right around those lows. It's range lows from all year. And what a nice place for a rebound rally. A little Kamala-fueled alternative energy. Mean reversion? I don't know.
I was reading about this wood pellets company that just went under.
Which one?
And Viva.
Yeah,
EVA.
Corner name.
Yeah.
And Viv.
Yeah, and it's not solar, but it's green energy. It's all part of the green, alternative energy thing.
They were buying that thing, the insiders, the whole way down too. It's been a tough week for insider data, guys. It's been a tough.
Strazza, what about the bounce that we're getting this week? Yesterday, you were commenting on how weak the bounce was after a 1.5% move or a 1.2% move the day before. So now Nasdaq's up 2.25% so far after 2 days this week, and the S&P 500 is up about 1.5%. Is that a more impressive rally, or do you still think that is weak after?
No, not really, right? Because it's in the context of last week's sell-off. So you could say to me, hey, Nasdaq's up 2% this week. Great. It was down 6% last week. Let's repair that damage, right? So how about another 4%?
Got it. So it would have to repair all of the selling from yesterday for it to be considered an impressive week.
No, I'll know impressive when I see it, but this is still shit. Can we throw up my tactical S&P 500 chart? I put it in here last night. Where'd it go? Slide 25. This is it, though, JC, right? Like if you fib out the S&P 500, just the reaction off of the August 5th lows, we have retraced a very, very standard 38%, right? We are at the VWAP from not just the July highs, but the August 5th lows, right? Both those VWAPs converging right here beneath price. I think if that holds, you could say it's in the bull's court. But if that breaks, I think we have to start talking about retests of the August lows and all the indexes. And the Nasdaq. A lot of this, yeah. What?
I think a lot of this has to do with the new slide 2, Spencer. If you want to throw that up, isn't this going to be? Isn't it going to just come down to this? Like, do we really need to get cute about it, or is it really just does this complete or does it not? Do they squeeze them or do they crash them? Like, doesn't it come down to this, Strazza?
I don't know. I think it's the top one.
Yeah.
I think it's the top one. I think
the bottom one.
The bottom line could break and it's still a bull market. It can.
Yeah, but if that bottom line breaks, you really think that the top one ain't going to break?
Listen, I think a lot of things, but then it always has to go back to what's actually taking place. And for now, this is holding. And I also think really it's the absolute trend. If we lose these leaders, fine, but we can't lose them on an absolute basis. We talked about it yesterday. The top chart has to hold and not be a top.
If you're interested in the top chart, my suggestion is to also keep an eye on the bottom chart. That you'll agree with.
100%.
How about the next slide? I'm being told that this is a defensive rotation. Defensive rotation, I'm being told. Defensive rotation. And then when I look at the returns over the last month, I see consumer discretionary. I'm told that we are in a consumer-based economy. That's what I'm told. Consumer-based economy. I see consumer discretionary best performing sector over the last month. Tesla up 12%. Amazon almost 8%. Consumer discretionary up over 7%. Home Depot 7%. With the Dow only up 3. S&P's only up 3. Tech only up 2. Q's up less than 2. What does this mean to you, Strazza?
Well,
yeah.
Aren't there just degrees?
I don't like what you're doing here. I'm not on board with this.
What am I doing? Tell me what I'm doing.
This discretionary.
But JC, aren't there degrees of like defensiveness, right?
Yeah. Would you say that Home Depot, the Tesla, and Amazon are defensive trades, or are they more offensive?
Well, compared to like
when you're
compared to like Zoom and like Arc, sure. But
you cherry picking son of a bitch, you know that this is misleading because the equal weight looks like crap compared to the cap weight.
The equal weight looks like crap compared to cap weight?
Yeah. You're a cherry picker.
All right, let's see. I'm looking at all of the equally weighted sectors.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad.
All of the equally weighted sectors over the last month, and I see financials as the best performing sector.
Yes.
Utilities and discretionary tied for second best performing sector.
Financials
I would say that on an equally weighted basis, it's doing just fine. No,
financials have been great, which makes sense. Interest rates have been cratering.
Discretionaries and Utes are right behind it.
And look at what interest rates have done over that time frame. So, yeah, financials have been good. All of these trades.
What do interest rates have to do with consumer discretionary?
Nothing. I'm talking about financials.
Got it. So we're having a conversation about discretionaries, and
I'm not. I don't know.
You suggested that I look at the equally weighted version. So I did.
You might be having a conversation about discretionary. I have nothing to say to you about that chart.
All right. So it doesn't mean anything to you, the fact that money is rotating into consumer discretionary up on both an absolute and relative basis, while I'm being told every day that this is defensive rotation, the world's coming to an end, seasonality, blah, blah, blah. I see money rotating consumer discretionary and Tesla ripping. Is that bearish?
Let's do this. Because we're always just weighing the evidence out here, right? That's
all we're doing, just weighing a little evidence. On this hand, right, this is shout out Frank Teixeira. The way he says it is, on one hand, you've got this, and that. On the other hand, you've got this, and that. Which one's heavier, right? That's classic Frank Teixeira right there, right?
Excellent.
Shout out, Frank.
That's how you weigh the evidence. So let's weigh the evidence. You're giving me one risk-on data point, and I'll give it to you. Let's assume what JC's saying is not cherry picking, and it's true. Discretionary, strong like bull. That's in the risk-on list. That's on the risk-on list right now. What is longer, the risk-on list or the risk-off list? Especially when it comes to risk appetite right now. The reversal patterns in XLP SPY, XLU SPY, SPLV SPY, right? Utes, low vol, staples.
And you don't think that your denominator bias there with technology representing a large percentage of that SPY? No, there's no denominator bias at all.
Listen, high beta, low vol, discretionary staples. Look at the top.
Are we losing Strazza?
In SMH SPY.
No.
I think that belongs.
No. My internet is slow. Yeah.
Are you guys losing me here?
No,
I think it's
we're good.
I think we're good. Credit spreads.
The internet.
Credit spreads remain pretty tight. You think credit spreads are falling apart?
Credit spreads. The HYG IEI. That's a top.
It's a top.
That's a top.
Well, if it is, then equities are probably going to go into a bear market, and we probably have a recession. No.
And I love cherries too.
Hold on. Answer the question.
What?
If those credit spreads start blowing out like you're claiming that they're about to, then bear market recession, no?
If credit spreads are rolling, and that is the top. Is that what you said? I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. Yeah. Yeah, it's over. It's the end of days. The same with XLP SPY, the XLY, XLP. Fonz wrote a great note last night on the discretionary staples relationship, right? That's been signaling it's over all year. How long is that divergence going to last?
XLY, XLP, the one that's like in this massive range for the last year and change?
Has it been confirming the new highs in the S&P 500 this year?
No.
Boom. What do you want?
Neither have
That looks like
transports.
top two.
Neither
They
have
all look like
transports.
tops. And then the defensive ones, you know what they look like? Bottoms. XLP SPY, XLU SPY, SPLV SPY. The defense is on the field, and there's no doubt about it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that why financials and consumer discretionary and industrials are leading the way?
And Rahul, you sound crazy, my friend. Okay. I've been on the right side for 2 months now. The tape changed, and that was the right call. Pay attention.
Speaking of cherries, the cherry pies in Michigan. Oh,
Good. Love cherries, especially in an
Hey.
old fashioned.
listen, these people in Michigan might do a terrible job of running automobile companies, but boy, do they make a good cherry pie,
It's true.
right? Probably because those cherry pie makers are investing in research and development instead of paying the pie makers that haven't worked there for 30 years. Maybe.
Or maybe it's the fact that cherries grow on trees in Michigan. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Hey.
What?
What?
Okay.
Are you insulted because he's a key lime pie guy?
No. That's enough cherry pie talk. You guys watching these altcoins?
No.
Yeah.
You see this bullish mo in the alts?
Bullish Mo and the alts.
Some real bullish mo. Maybe it's nothing. It's probably nothing. The trends are all
Which Mo in particular are you
look at any
most
of them.
excited about?
like look at the algo, look at the AVAX, look at the Cardano. They all look the same, these things. Elrond, and then just look at the momentum divergence. We didn't even get close to oversold.
Dude, I haven't heard
that's early this
the
one.
word Elrond in a minute, dude.
You like the Elrond?
I mean, I did in 2021 or
Listen,
whatever that was.
There's some vintage coins out there. They're full of great information. No, I'm kidding. There's probably little to no information.
We know it's not bull market season in the cryptos until I'm getting text messages from Strazza on Saturday mornings about what we're buying. Right?
I get all my crypto stuff from Louis.
Trying to tell us how to drink our coffee. Hey, Brett.
So throw it up one more time. Throw the 1 month returns, please. I think that this is going. I think this is going undersaid. I know we've got a great guest, and I want to talk to him about it. And by the way, Zarling does a lot of great sector rotation stuff, a lot of relative strength work, a lot of sector work specifically. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. But again, I'm gonna be a pain in the ass. Whether you guys like it or not, I'm gonna tell it like it is. Some people tell it like it might be. That's not my style. I tell it like it is, whether you want to hear it or not. And you want to know something? The trannies look pretty damn good. And consumer discretionaries look pretty damn good. So with all this gloom and doom out there, I'm just not seeing it. I don't take financials making all-time highs as a negative catalyst for equities. Now, yesterday was a little ugly for financials. I'll give you that, right? So that's a start. Like if the market loses financials, yeah, maybe it is fucked. Maybe it is, right? But like, what is it? Is it Big Lebowski? Nothing is fucked here, dude. You know, I haven't seen that confirmation. Are they vulnerable? Is the high beta, low volatility suggesting that it could be a problem? Sure. Semiconductors on a relative basis, putting in a potential massive top.
A lot of things,
right? Yeah. I mean, we can go on and on. There's a bunch of, yes, if Strazza is right, and that junk bond versus treasury ratio is putting in a massive top. Yeah, that's probably not good for stocks. I'll give you all of that. All of them.
Good. You should.
But here's the thing.
What?
And for those of you who like to take notes, write this down. This is fact.
Don't write this down.
Write it down twice. Tattoo it on your forehead. Mathematically, you cannot have a bear market or a correction of any kind without the prices of stocks falling.
Oh, stop it with that.
Fact. And yet, despite a tripling in the volatility index, despite all of the gloom and doom, you have yet to see an expansion in stocks falling in price. So when I do see an expansion of stocks falling in price, that will be a great indicator that things are actually getting worse. We have not seen that. We have not seen. It's what it is. Anybody got a problem? I can get you a toe. You need a toe? I'll get you a toe. No arguments. Drop the mic on that one.
I want to show my discretionary charts.
Oh, please. I would love to see your discretionary charts.
Just so the world gets to actually see what's really going on here.
Are you going to show me your long dicks?
Mm-mm.
Too soon?
Not going to do that. Here's what we got. First chart. Throw it up. This is discretionary when we equal weight it, my friends.
I'm staring at it right here, buddy. You think this is my first day charting? Come on.
No, I'm just let's start with the one down below. Is that a chart that we buy? Is that a chart pattern that we buy? Kind of looks like a top. It kind of looks like it already completed too.
Why don't you throw up my chart?
No.
Why don't you throw up my chart, you cherry picking bastard? Throw up my chart.
Do this. You could do this. Come on.
Hold on. No. Bring it back. Bonds?
Bring it back.
Bonds, don't you dare. Buy or sell. The bottom one. Buy or sell.
Bonds, throw it up. Who writes the checks around here? Throw up my chart. Throw up my chart, Fonz, if you know what's good for you.
This.
Poor Alfonso doesn't know what to do.
These are not charts that we want to buy, whether it's on an absolute basis or the relative trend, consumer discretionary. No good. Yeah.
Does this look terrible to you?
What is the point you're trying to make?
The point I'm trying to make is that we're in a range. We've been making higher lows and higher highs this entire bull market. We're still not above the prior cycle's peak. But I don't see this breaking down. I don't see this as a massive top.
What is this? Small caps? Look at this.
Well, you had the greatest 52-week period in the history of the United States stock market, which has quite a bit of history, off of those COVID lows. And then a well-deserved multi-year consolidation in that consumer discretionary space on an equally weighted basis, because you love equally weighted charts so much, even though, despite the fact that we live in a market cap weighted world, not in an equally weighted world. That's called communism. This is capitalism. The rich get richer, and you need people that are losers too, right? There are winners and there are losers. But I'm going to humor you and look at it on an equally weighted basis. Does this look like a massive top to you, or does this look like a perfectly normal consolidation? Thank you, Morgan and Dunkin' Donuts. Or does this look like a normal consolidation to you after the most historic stock market ripper in history?
All I'm going to say is I've been buying real estate stocks. I've been buying bond funds. I've been
changes the subject.
I've been buying biotechs. Bought some biotechs.
For the record, nobody's saying that those are bad decisions. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Those have obviously proven to be good decisions. I've agreed. I've been with you. Agreed.
I'm not buying
real estate, and your biotechs has nothing to do with this equally weighted consumer discretionary chart that doesn't look like a top.
I have an idea.
I'm not buying charts that look like this because that's crazy. I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Wait, I have an idea.
For the record, how many times in your entire life have you ever bought an equally weighted ETF?
I'm not buying the components of this piece of crap either.
Don't get left behind, right? Get left behind, right? What do they say? Stay poor. What do the kids say these days?
I don't know who says that.
I think that's what they say. They say stay poor.
My idea is that our guest has opinions on this.
I'm in favor of kicking Rahul out of the chat.
I'm in favor of bringing in Rahul's whole family. I really like this Rahul guy. Can we bring in David Zarling, please?
Yes.
Because I think he's gonna have some opinions on all of it.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I'm right. Yo, Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Oh, Mr. Zarling.
Hey, JC, how are you doing?
Let me tell you something. How nice it is, to be here with a good Midwestern boy instead of these obnoxious Connecticut kids.
Yeah, Middle Coast. It's a place to be.
Strazza's actually. He mentioned to me the other day. He's 35, 36 years old or something like that. He's only slept in a landlocked state 2 nights his entire life.
Really? Okay.
2 nights. I think he was in Minnesota by accident once.
Perspective. Yeah, that's an interesting
lifestyle. That's like some serial killer shit. Like there's like so many states that are landlocked, and he hasn't been to any of them.
Yeah, his toilet paper probably goes to the underside.
Oh, is that?
That's
He's
how he
gonna-
puts the roll. He probably sleeps with socks on. Who knows?
You know, I saw the original patent filing for the toilet paper roll.
Is it underneath? No.
No, it's
Okay.
It's
Oh,
over.
it's up.
But
I feel
I
better.
did see that come by the stream the other day. I was like, oh shit, look at that. How about that?
Yeah, I got nervous.
Finally an answer.
Yeah, for sure.
David, are you coming to Chicago with us next week?
I'm not. I'm
Why
not.
not?
Family is the simple answer. I've got a daughter that's playing college soccer. I like to catch her games, and then I coach soccer, so I tend to focus on family. And one of these times we'll make it. I know, we're trying to line up things for next year too. A big run.
I believe they call it football.
Football. Yes. Football. Can't just
it
do
was
it
actually
around.
the Brits. The British are the ones who called it soccer. Did you know that?
Didn't know that.
Isn't that funny how the Brits tell us what soccer and what football is? It's their fault all along. They're the ones who screwed it up originally.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
I know.
So,
I know. All right. Shout out America. Mr. Zarling, we are having just a little friendly banter. No big deal.
yeah.
Just a little
I
debate.
think the last 5 minutes of debate was better than last night.
Low bar, David. It was low bar.
Yeah, it was a low bar.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Low
for
bar.
sure.
Low bar. I heard.
But,
I didn't
but
watch. I didn't watch it, but I heard it was terrible.
Yeah, I watched like 30 seconds and they started talking about cats and I turned it off.
Oh yeah, you Midwest people eating your pets. Why are you
Yeah.
guys doing that?
Crazy. It did have me looking up Springfield, Ohio. That's kind of weird stuff. So, but we don't need to go there. That's not what the show is about.
Springfield, Ohio. You know
Yeah.
that's why the Simpsons are in Springfield, because it's the name of the town with the most states that have the name of that town in it.
Right. I
Yeah.
think there's all these memes out there about the connection between Trump and the Simpsons, and I just think it's hilarious that we end up talking about Springfield.
Yeah, see that? And some people think this isn't a simulation.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
come on.
synchronatic, man, for sure.
Come on.
Things are coincidental.
Let me ask you something, Mr. David Zarling, someone who follows relative strength and sector rotation as much as you do.
Oh yeah.
Is
It's a
consumer
gift.
discretionary as a leader, is that historically bearish rotation? Is that defensive rotation historically when money flows into consumer discretionary?
No. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And even, before hopping on here, you guys were discussing that equal weight. The other thing that chart tells me is we've had 0% return in equal weight consumer discretionary for a hot 6 years.
I know, but David, this market, this parabolic market, this rally in stocks is unsustainable.
Yeah. Well, large caps, but look at what's happening underneath the surface equal weight. Whether you're looking at EQAL, like Russell 1000 equal weight, or you're looking at equal weight healthcare, you name it, you look at a lot of the equal weight stuff, you take cap out of it. And are we really that surprised that we're going to pause right here, right now, as we chew through supply, if that's what the thesis is? Or is this a double top?
This is EQAL?
Yes, this is EQAL. This is the Russell 1000 equally weighted. So it takes that winning aspect out of it, right? We all know that these cap weighted indexes, the rich get richer, and that's okay. The big get bigger. We want our all-stars to perform. But when we look at things on an equally weighted basis across the board, that we're going to pause right here, right now, doesn't surprise me, especially considering September and October and what we see seasonality during this period of time. So this isn't really all that shocking to me. And I know you guys talked about some of the consolidations previously about whether it's semiconductors or different aspects. I think you mentioned the relationship between XLY and S&P, a ratio chart that if you zoom out, is it distribution? It could be, but it also looks like a potential false breakdown, and we could be talking about rotation into discretionary. And the other thing I'd like to highlight here is we had a VIX spike last month. Correlations go to 1. Correlations are falling off now. So this is where we look underneath the surface to see what is holding up. And I think you highlighted before, if we're seeing industrials and financials holding up, those are not things that you see in a bear market. You don't see JP Morgan going to new highs. You don't see Berkshire Hathaway going to new highs in a bear market. Shoot, you don't even see triple C credit spreads, which have cooled off. Triple C credit spreads popped during that VIX pop, and they're actually lower than they were a month ago right now.
So why don't you explain to the folks who don't know just how bad a triple C is, like just how shitty of a company and how irresponsible you need to be to earn a solid triple C.
Yeah, it's bad. Like you're the garbage of the garbage. You're a garbage. I want to be careful. Every company, you know, they're trying to make a run at it, and it's America. So I want companies to succeed. But if you have a triple C rating on you've been misaligned with the use of your credit,
Like if
and
you're
you're paying.
triple C, the bad companies are making fun of you for how bad you are.
Yes, yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
You're the New York Giants and Carolina Panthers of football.
I was gonna say the Jets, but okay.
Yeah, I mean the Jets. Yeah, I mean they could be right in there. They might be they might be triple C as well.
Yeah. So just to reiterate just how bad triple C is for those who might not be familiar with the bond market, can you explain what the spreads in these triple Cs, what you're seeing, and what that means or what it doesn't mean?
Yeah, the simplest way to look at it is just credit expansion and credit tightening. So if we see that the triple C rates that these garbage companies get to pay, these spreads are falling, that means we have an easing of credit. Credit is easier or cheaper to come by. You can go ahead and get money at a cheaper level, which is credit expansion. And so when you see falling credit spreads, triple C credit spreads, that's a risk on barometer. And that's currently what we're seeing right now is since that VIX spike, we continue to see triple C credit spreads falling. And that's a money flow in to market, whether it's credit markets or capital markets. It's a quality signal for money flow.
So this morning there was an inflation print that the government is lying to you about, and
Oh, really? I didn't know.
is the market initial knee jerk, took it slightly negative, and they've just been roaring all the way back. Nasdaq's actually positive right now. How do you think about something like that? How do you think about the most important CPI number in your entire life this morning? Like how was that?
Well, since this is a family show now, because my kids are probably watching, I could give two craps about the CPI, which will be revised later. I could give two craps about GDP. I could give whatever. They all get revised later.
Yeah.
It's why I use price. It's the most current thing we have. And they've never come back to me and say, hey, we're revising the execution of your positions, the price that you got. That's extremely rare in the market. It typically happens when there's a mechanical issue at the tier 2 level. So I use price. I could care less about those other things that are going to get revised later.
And when you were younger and maybe less experienced, were those things that you paid a lot more attention to, you think, maybe? Or have you always ignored them?
Yeah, pre-2006, I was a fundamentalist. 06 to 08 was my conversion to using price alone. It was the single sole arbiter of value. The interaction of supply and demand is economic law. It's not an economic thesis. More demand than supply, price goes up. More supply than demand, price goes down. The market is a future discounting mechanism. It's a weighing machine. It looks out 6 to 18 months into the future. So while we have a price reaction in the futures, we're really looking forward in time, and we can use the stats that we have in front of us, price, to see what are market participants thinking. And across the board, we have so many rising 200-day moving averages. The bull market is intact at this point.
Talk to me about the ETF business.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm hanging out with Josh Brown and Michael Batnick a few weeks ago in City, and we're breaking balls and laughs back and forth, blah blah blah. And we started talking about our young aristocrats, and these are companies that raise their dividends every year for at least 5 years. So like if you have the ability to raise your dividend every year for 5 straight years, probably not triple C status, right? You'd probably be doing something right?
Right. If
I
you're
don't
able
know. I'm not a fundamentalist, as you call them. I don't know, but shit, they got to be doing something right. If the stock's making new 52-week highs and they're raising their dividends every year, like how bad could things be, right? The opposite of triple C. So anyway, so this is a great list. We love it. Josh and Batnick and the financial advisors, they love it for obvious reasons. And Josh is always telling me, JC, why is it an ETF? Why is it an ETF? And I'm like, well, I hate low margin businesses, right? Again, maybe not a fundamental analyst, but I know that. I like high margin businesses. And then I've been talking to, ETF providers because now they watch the podcast, and I'm getting phone calls from all the fund families about launching the ETF. As it turns out, the margins are even worse than I thought. But for someone like yourself, right? So I'm not in that business. You launched the ETF. You were already in that business. So it's like, all right, well, we're already doing this. So why not do it this way also? It's kind of how I see it. So it seemed like a lot easier decision for you guys to make. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience? How's that coming along? Is it a lot of work? Was it well worth it? Or, investors seem to be really liking it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So backstory for those watching, this is a registered investment advisor. We manage assets for our clients. We run 4 models. We had been running a single stock sleeve. So we ourselves decided, hey, this might be in the best interest of our clients to launch our own ETF, ticker ADPV. It's using momentum and relative strength to identify the top ranked large cap stocks. We wanted it to be a liquid environment, but it also has a trend regime identification method that identifies when risk has re-entered the market and we're in a downtrend, and we can shift to something more conservative like T-bills. I'm a huge fan. It is a lot of work. There's a fair amount of resource expenditure, both financially and on the team for compliance purposes. I mean, you have to be dotting your I's and crossing your T's. And then there's about a $250,000 to $300,000 run rate per year to run it for all the different regulations that you got to meet. My personal opinion going through this process is that the fee compression that is being broadcast as a benefit to the overall market participant might be a little bit of a half truth, because the more you stifle the fee on a fund, the less innovative products you're going to get. So while we're launching, there's a ton of ETFs being launched. You're typically seeing those with a higher rate than what's happening at the bigger houses like Vanguard or any of the other ETF issuances. I say let the fee be the fee and let the free markets work. And if people want to buy that ETF, they can go and do that.
And
I mean, it's America. It's wonderful.
Have the right, you and anybody else, me for that matter, to charge whatever the hell we want?
Correct. And if they want to buy it, they can buy it. If they don't want to buy it, they don't buy it. I'm not going to sit here and say this ETF's better because it's 0.1% as its fee, and this one's not because it has a 1.5% fee. In the end, it's about return. It's about making money. And if that ETF or that product is making money, people should have access to it.
Well, shouldn't they have price controls on ETF fees, making sure that they suppress those prices? No? No. Food, yes. They should do that at the grocery stores, but not at ETFs.
Yeah, food. How did we ever get down that subject? The tightest margin business on the planet, and we're sitting here saying people are gouging. When go ahead and try to start a grocery store. Go ahead and try to start a food company.
David, just love communism. They just love it.
They do.
They just do. But in the ETF business, fortunately, this is the United States of America, and we could charge whatever the hell we want. And if people don't want to buy the fund, they don't have to. And if they do, they can, right?
And absolutely. This is the greatest country on the planet. If my father in the late 70s had to save up $5,000 to put it in a mutual fund that had a front end load on it, and now his son can launch an ETF, how is this not the greatest planet or the greatest country on the planet?
You tell him, David. You tell him, buddy.
Like this is America. We can go and do these things. You can launch your own business. You can go and if you see a problem, if you see an issue, go solve it. Go be that person that's going to solve it. I could care less what the government thinks, whatever. Go do you. Like, have an impact on your community, have an impact in your life. Go create a solution. Yeah. Stop complaining. Go create the solution.
Dude, seriously. Like, and you know something you notice? The people that complain the most, that are like, trying to be communists and all that stuff. Like, you know what I've noticed? They're all caught up on all their Netflix shows. They haven't read a book in decades. You know what I mean? Like, go do something and stop bitching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stop sitting on your couch. Go make a difference. And again, America, there's billions of options that you can go help. If you don't want to start a business, go volunteer, start a nonprofit, go help if you are worried about how politics are going, start at the ground level. Go help in your community. Be involved with that. You can make more change in your community at the local level than worrying about all this high level garbage.
Love it, David. Love it. Talk to me about crude oil. Going to zero?
Probably not.
Maybe below zero.
Well, yeah, I remember those days when I knew it was a sign when I'm looking up how do I buy an oil barge and fill it up when the contracts were at negative.
Right.
But yeah,
when Zarling's looking up how to buy oil futures in the negative.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's a sign.
Like, how does that actually work? That's a sign like, oh, maybe I should be buying oil. And here, this chart is awesome. We're right at a level where buyers have showed up before. So the other thing that's going on here when we talk about what's led since the VIX spike. So step back, big picture, November through July, using something like the S&P 500, one of the greatest runs that we've seen in a 9-month period, if not in the top quintile, in the top percentile. You don't think it's healthy that we move sideways, and you look at enough charts, you have enough things that are setting up at areas of potential support. We're now at that infamous, this is where we should be using the term inflection zone. We are at inflection across a wide array of items, whether you're looking at semiconductors as a whole, semiconductors versus the S&P, you're looking at this chart of oil. There are so many things that are setting up that this is really where you need to do your homework and be paying attention to what is strong right now. Where is the relative strength right now? And we'll have information. If we see equal weight healthcare break to the upside, if we see how big of a signal is it if transports break to the upside to new highs? That's all it's going to be doing.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Zarling, because I know you don't know, because nobody knows what's going to happen, right? So we got that going for us.
Right.
In your humble opinion, do you believe that the lack of new highs in the Dow Jones Transportation Average is something permanent, confirming this divergence that we're seeing as the Dow Industrials are making new highs and transports are not? Or is it just simply that the transports haven't made new highs yet?
Well, when we look across the board, what the leaders broke out first. So you got semiconductors breaking out first. And that's very healthy, by the way. This chewing through supply, right? We've seen sellers in IYT near the $70 level, going back again to 2021 when a lot of stocks peaked. We're getting back to that level now. Does it move higher? Well, if we zoom back even further, we typically see that consolidations resolve in the direction of the uptrend. We have from a massive secular level, we have an uptrend in transportation. If we clear 70, it's game on. We'll know if we can't hold that, if we're just going to build a range, that's fine too. So I don't, like you said, I don't know what it's going to do, but I do know that if it does clear that level, that's a real positive for the market.
What does a world look like, David, where airline stocks are not going down? Is there anybody out there that can imagine what something like that might look like? Or is it just so far-fetched that it's just unimaginable?
Yeah, right. I mean, and there's things across the board. I know you guys were talking about potentially election outcome sensitive areas.
Yeah.
You could look at airlines similar in some ways to, if you look at pot stocks, look like they're trying to carve out a bottom. That's not something that pot stocks did really well under Donald J. Trump. Not so good under Biden. That's not something that seems intuitively obvious. Like that's how it should be. Same with uranium. Uranium did great under Biden.
Coal stocks did great under Biden. Biden was great for the coal industry.
Yeah, coal, uranium, those industrials did really well under Biden. And you had pot stocks and solar stocks do poorly. That's not what you would think. And here you have uranium also sitting at a horizontal level of importance, another inflection zone, that if that's breaking down and pot stocks are breaking out to the upside, are we not talking about another term for Donald J. Trump? Could be. It goes counterintuitive. It's not what you would think would happen. But again, no party has a monopoly on returns. It's all about when the foot drops, who's elected and then where the money flows from there. But both parties have equal return on the market. So not really too concerned about which one is elected, just doing your due diligence on where the relative strength is.
What about these regional banks, David? I see a series of higher lows and higher highs going all the way back to when regional banks were going to bring down the entire stock market last spring, if you recall. Remember, it was like banking crisis. It seems like the only crisis is in the people who don't have banks in their portfolios, really.
Right. And financials have shown relative strength. And interestingly enough, ADPV, Adaptive Select ETF, which is purely mathematical. It's looking at momentum and it's looking at rate of change, and it's ranking based on that, has pivoted towards financials. So I find that.
Do you think 50% of the portfolio in financials? You think that's enough?
Right. That's where they keep climbing up the rankings. These financials keep climbing up the rankings. And so, Ian, the portfolio manager on the ETF, Ian McMillan, a great technician as well. We sit back and go, okay, this is the information. Like, I don't get to argue with this. I don't get to sit here and say, well, that can't be right.
The only ETF I know with 50% financials, other than you guys, is the Singapore ETF. So you got Adaptiv and Singapore. Those are the two.
You know what has a surprising high weighting in financials is the Argentina ETF, ARGT, has a surprising amount, and it's actually doing very well. And then if you look at Singapore, if you look at a relative chart, there's something there.
Yeah.
There's something going on with financials globally speaking.
Yeah, the Singapore Straits Times just hit new 6-year highs, right?
Yeah.
So the Dow Jones Industrial Average of Singapore, if you will, right?
So if the world is ending, why aren't foreign financials doing poorly?
European banks hitting new 5-year highs. Is that historically evidence of distribution when European banks are a leadership group?
Right, exactly. And we're talking about what had been the garbage of the garbage, now showing relative strength. This is where we need to pay attention. Like, I get it. The tech stocks are sexy. They're fun. They were a great performer for us in our models, but there's a shift underway. I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know if it's for real. Obviously, we want to use price levels to confirm or deny that thesis. But it is interesting to see the strength out of financials globally speaking. And yeah, European, how can you argue with that? Those have been some of the remember when we used to talk about Deutsche Bank, how bad Deutsche Bank was, or how, like, you have some pretty massive banks over in Europe that are doing just fine.
Speaking of triple C's.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know whether they are or not, but in my head they are. Right.
Right. Yes. Correct. Yeah. But I mean, okay, the zombie banks or the garbage banks like AIG, from the financial crisis, right? Financial crisis happens. They dump all the bad stuff on some of these balance sheets like Citigroup and AIG. The range in AIG on an absolute basis that goes back to the collapse in October of 2008, we're clearing that range in AIG. And I'm not saying go buy AIG. I'm just saying that's information. That's just something to pay attention to, that, we've got a base breakout that goes back to 2008. That's a long time. I think I was down to 2 kids at that time. I've now got 4. That we're breaking out to new highs that we haven't seen in that long a time. That's information. We want to pay attention to that.
How many kids do you have, Zarling?
4.
We were thinking about a 4th, because once you have 3, what the hell's the difference? Just keep having more.
You're already playing zone defense.
Right. So what's the difference, right?
What's the difference? Let's get that birth rate up, man. We got work to do.
Nah, man. They cut my nuts off like at some point after the kids were born. My wife was on the delivery room. She's like, "You get your appointment yet?"
Well, there you go. Well, thank you for having 3. I think that's great.
3's good. It wasn't by choice. We had twins the second go around, but so it was a little surprise. No big deal.
Family's great. It's gotta have it.
It's
for
true.
Sure.
It's true. My daughter tells me a couple of days, because our nanny's an Eagles fan. She comes to me. We're at the beach and we're talking about the Dolphins, and the Dolphins won, blah blah blah. And she goes, "Daddy, we like the Eagles like a little bit, right?" I'm like, "Hell no, we do not like the Eagles even a little bit, sweetheart, and we never will."
So you got them wearing Miami jerseys?
Hell yeah, dude! Are you kidding me? Every year before football season, I get him Canes gear. I get him Dolphins gear. When basketball season starts, I get him Heat gear. Like, we just do this. I'm trying to be a good father. You know, I don't
Yeah.
buy my kids clothes. These are the clothes I buy my kids. You know, my
Yeah.
wife handles the other stuff.
Yeah, if we're gonna influence kids, let's get them directly speaking towards God and our favorite football team. How about that? Rather
That's right.
than
That's right.
this other crazy stuff.
That's right. You're telling me. David Zarling, one of my favorite guests. I'm so happy that you were here to discuss sector rotation and leadership amongst different sectors. I wish I could tell you that Spencer was smart enough to have done that on purpose, but we know that that was just a nice coincidence.
Didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, Spencer, you do a great job. He had to go back and forth with me to get me on here, so I appreciate the patience, Spencer. And I always love being on here with you guys. You guys do such a great job.
Dude, come back, David. Keep school and Strazza on this bullish sector rotation. I love it. I love every second of it. Go America.
Yeah, that's right, America,
USA, baby. Let's go.
love it.
All right.
David Zarling, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, the takeaway I had was go America. All right, that was the conclusion of that
David
conversation.
Zarling, but what a great point. He's like, my father back in the 70s used to have to save $5,000 to buy a front-loaded mutual fund, and now his kid gets to launch an ETF whenever he wants.
Yeah, it truly is remarkable how incredibly easy and cheap it has gotten to invest. It has never been easier.
Yeah.
For anyone, right? For everyone.
Somebody said it. Who said it? It's the there's never a wrong time to invest. Who was it who said that?
I think the best time to invest was like yesterday, right? And the second best time was today, right? I don't know.
That's another good one. That's another. Was it one of our friends who said there's never a bad time to invest, or was that one of our friends quoting?
I mean, there are some pretty bad times.
What's a bad time to invest? Tell me.
Well, it depends on your time horizon, right? But I would imagine anybody who bought, February of October of 07 would have had a rough go of it.
I think their portfolios would be up like 4x since then, or something like that.
If they could take the heat, you don't know that.
Oh,
no one knows that
out
until
the kitchen. That's what they said.
No one knows until they're in it, right?
Rest in peace, Coolio.
Yeah, he's dead now. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So
are you too young for Coolio, Spencer?
Yes.
You're a little too young. I remember watching the Coolio videos on MTV and like the girls in bikinis, and I was like all excited. I was like, how old was I? Like 10, 11? Like it was a big deal for me. It was a lot of skin.
All right, let's look around the markets here. Shout out to lithium this morning. Some lithium mine in China is shut down at the moment. So Albemarle, Arcadium Lithium, ALTM, SGML, Sigma, all trading higher this morning. Basically every lithium stock is up this morning. That's what's leading the way in the markets.
This has to become one of those groups where you say, like, does this just go away forever? Or if not, how much worse does it get before the cycle ends and the bottom's in? Because, I mean, these guys have just been killed across the board. Even the industry leader, like ALB, that's Albemarle, it's been really bad out there for lithium stocks. And what they tell me, from what I hear, Tesla people, lithium's very important. So
that's what they say.
We'll see.
Also, shout out Dave and Buster's. Good quarter. Good morning. Up 13.5% this morning. Hey,
Dave and Buster's. Wow.
So I'm open to this whole concept now. I've never been to one, but we went to like an arcade bar situation a few weeks ago. We were bowling all night. It was a blast. Had a great time. I've never done that before. You guys get involved with this? Take the kids, shoot some hoops, JC?
We go to arcades. We don't do like a Dave and Buster's. We go to arcades when we're at the beach. We go to arcades, and then the best arcade I've ever seen is it's called Kalahari. Anybody know about Kalahari in the Poconos?
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
sure.
This place is sick. It's an indoor water park, full bar. You can rent the cabanas like you're in Vegas, like at Wet Republic, and you can rent the cabanas, bottle service, the whole thing. And then the arcade is insane. And these people, they know capitalism, right? They're not communists. They make you walk through the arcade to get into the water park. Like they got it down to a science. You got to go through the food court and the arcade to get, and then back out, right? So every time you're spending money, they do it right.
Cool.
Kalahari.
Great.
I've been to Dave and Buster's within the last like 5 years. Because there was one near where I used to live, and yeah, it's a good time. It's nice way to spend like a rainy Sunday, like a rainy Saturday. Yeah,
I feel like Dave and Buster's is probably popular in New Jersey.
Well, this was in Michigan. I don't know where there is one in New Jersey, but I'm sure we have them. Yeah.
What about that mall that's in the Meadowlands? Is that good?
Is it good?
No.
Well, you have to pay for parking.
It's the ugliest fucking building in the world. That thing's such a disaster.
You have to pay to park there, which is
what is it that's ugly? The skiing thing?
That's one of the biggest New Jersey disasters of all time, and there's a lot of them, but that's
a lot of them.
The list.
Yeah. So basically, for those not in the know, in 2006,
I watched them build this thing for 20 years going to games. What a joke.
The state of New Jersey decided to build a mall, which nobody asked for, by the way. Nobody wanted this mall, but they decided to build a giant mall with an indoor ski slope. The timing really couldn't have been much worse, because then a year later, the Great Recession happens, and the thing just sat there half finished for, I don't know, 12 years.
Yeah, right.
And they finally finished it. Check this out. They finished it. It opened in the fall of 2019. What happens 4 months later? Boom, pandemic. Right?
Yeah, dude. What a disaster.
Is that really the story? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, that's really what happened.
So, and also it was the dumbest thing in the world. People who would go to the games hated it, because let's just create a ton more traffic at the place where there's the most traffic literally in the world. It takes 3 hours to get out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like, it just never made sense.
Yeah, it was, nobody asked for this, but anyway, if you want to ski indoors and ski in July, have at it, man.
Have you ever been inside that crazy building? I've never been.
But I've walked and driven by it 10,000 times going to the games there.
It's like it was built with Legos and then made life size.
Can we just give a shout out to Continental Airlines Arena, please?
Man.
Shout out. Old school.
Great
place. Continental Airlines Arena.
I saw some good concerts there back in the day.
It's the Hartford Civic Center of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cool. Good.
Yeah. All right.
Shout out to the Whalers. Shout out Whalers. Let's just do a quick little market update here, because we've got the Dow futures down 400 points with the NASDAQ flat. Don't see that every day. S&P 500 futures down 40 basis points, but the Dow down a full percent, 400 points, with the NASDAQ flat. 30-year bond futures down 20 basis points. Crude oil up 2%, above 67. Copper up 1%. Gold down 1/3%. Silver up 0.75%. Volatility index still under 20. Mexican peso having a day. Philippine peso having a day. Brazilian real having a day. Colombian peso, Malaysian ringgit, Korean won. Forex markets are moving today.
Can we all agree that banks are down now, and down in a pretty material way?
Well, I liked what I think it was Harminder said this in the chat like a half hour ago. Yesterday, both Goldman Sachs and also JP Morgan gave some cautious commentary 3 weeks before they report earnings, right? So now
I think three of them.
Now the bar is low. They can come in, clear the bar, rip it in October.
But it wasn't just DJ Soul. Somebody else came out from one of the big six yesterday.
Yeah.
Some cautious comments. There was a write-off press release. I don't know. Like, if somebody knows more about the banking industry, please chime in. But it seemed to me that yesterday there was bad regulatory news that was driving like some nasty price action in the banks. They were talking about basically the capital buffer, and one of the Fed guys came on, and the plan that he proposed wasn't as good as like what the bulls were hoping for. So the banks were already selling off, and then it seemed to me like they're just dropping bad press releases. Like, let's just get it all done today kind of situation. Like there was like 4 or 5 headlines yesterday. I was like, this is negative for the banks. How did these all come out, in a single day? And then today's price action, I think, is just solely driven by the change in the presidential odds after the debate last night. The biggest election trade on the sheets, it's not even close, is the regional banks. These guys can juice their capital return, their shareholder return policies, pay larger dividends, buy back stock, right? Do more lending, make more money, become more profitable. Net interest margins will grow through the roof if they can just ease some of these crazy Dodd-Frank regulations. They've been in place for a long time. People have known they've been crazy for a long time. It's something that's been on the Republicans' list. I think it's becoming more and more bipartisan. I think Kamala is a risk that maybe not bipartisan enough for her. So I think a Trump victory benefits the banks more than any other group that we can look to and tie kind of to the election right now.
And Bitcoin?
Elsewhere
Bitcoin?
around the market, no, we had GameStop earnings last night. For those who are still into that sort of thing, it was predictably not good.
Isn't
Yeah.
yeah.
What else is new? I want to give a shout out to those guys over at Elliott Management. God, they like never lose, it seems like. So they took a stake in Southwest Airlines, I don't know, 6 months ago, somewhere around there. They just got half the board to resign.
Dude, but they're quick. They get in, they make moves, they drive changes, and then they're out. It's really impressive. I'm with you. It's impressive. Yeah. And you know what? Look at the companies that they're doing this stuff in. Yeah. They're all downtrends. They're all bad situations. They come in, they get 20, 30%. They shake up the board, get them to pay a dividend, whatever, cut the dividend, and then they're out.
But Strazza, all they care about is money, and they don't care about the employees. Can you believe that?
I mean, it just seems like every time they take a stake, they get what they want, right? Whether it's corporate action or new CEO, or in this case, they haven't gotten a new CEO yet, but they're trying to get him out. So we'll see what happens.
Would they be taking a stake if they didn't think that they can make those changes?
Well, lots of people take stakes. Lots of activists try to do activist things, and they don't always win.
That's true.
These Elliott guys.
So you're saying these guys get what they want? That's fair.
These Elliott guys, they always win. It feels
Where are these guys from?
This is Paul Singer. This is the guy that like took the ship hostage, not hostage, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Paul Singer. He's a badass.
Yeah,
corporate raider. So
from Teaneck, New Jersey.
Oh wow, shout out.
I know it.
Wow, just so many shout outs for New Jersey this week.
Stress is feeling uncomfortable.
No, I'm good with it.
Oh god.
You know, one of my good buddies down in Miami, he's like, he lived in Hoboken for a year, went to college with me in Connecticut, has lived in Miami for the last 20 years or whatever it is since we graduated college. He's like, they just don't make sandwiches down here like they do up in New Jersey and New York. He's like, can you send me a good sandwich? And Connecticut too, by extension, like Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, like that. As you start going west towards Pennsylvania, you start losing the quality of the sandwiches. As you start going east towards Massachusetts and north towards like Vermont, New Hampshire, you lose the quality of the sandwich. It's that Connecticut, New York, New Jersey little tri-state situation that's got the money sandwiches.
The best sandwiches in the world.
I think it's just that the Italians make good sandwiches, and the Italians live in this area.
So but what about the Jews? The Jews do right also.
Sure, yeah, them too.
Why are you hating on the Jews?
For sure. No, listen. Both the Jews and the Italians, we really care about sandwiches.
You need a Gentile to tell you the Jews make good sandwiches?
No, Jews make good sandwiches.
Jews make
but Italians have more variety in their sandwiches. Jews do like 3 sandwiches.
Yeah.
By me, I got too many Dutch, not enough Jews. The sandwiches.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No,
the bagels are unedible around here.
There's only one thing that I miss more than a good sandwich being down here. It's pizza. But outside of pizza, it's like I just crave a good deli.
Again, the pizza, as you start heading west towards me, away from the city, the pizza gets worse. Again, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, they do it right.
My barber, the guy who owns the barbershop, is like a big restaurant guy in Stock Island. And I was telling him, because he's always like thinking of like what restaurants do we need around here? And I'm like, dude, just a sandwich shop. Like just an Italian sandwich shop. Keep it simple. Bang.
Salt, roasted peppers.
Yeah. I want some sausage hanging from the ceiling when I walk.
Agabago.
I would love to talk to you guys about CPI. I spent some time.
Tell me about your CPI.
So CPI was down and everybody's excited.
Is this something that you get diagnosed for? Like, oh, I have CPI.
There probably is. Yeah.
Let's hit the charts. So they said it would be shelter that would bring down CPI. It's not. Shelter was up huge again this month. It's energy. It's been all about energy. We said this 2 years ago. It's going to be energy. Watch gasoline. Where gasoline goes, CPI will go. And yes, of course, gasoline is part of the data that drives the CPI reading that we get. Perfect. Okay. But as long as gasoline, crude oil, and friends keep falling, I think inflation is going to keep falling too. If shelter becomes a tailwind for inflation and starts falling, great. That helps as well. But for now, without shelter, energy is driving this number lower. Pretty much everything else was higher across the board. Let me just give a quick read through just on some of the items.
What the hell happened in June? Remember June? We had deflation.
Listen,
What the hell was that about?
transportation up 8%, shelter up 5%, food away from home up 4%, electricity up 4%, medical care up 3.2%, food at home up 0.9%, gas utilities basically unchanged, used cars down 10.4%, gasoline down 10%, fuel oil down 12%. So outside of used cars, which is tiny, it's tiny weighting, this is all about energy. So let's look at the energy charts and try and figure out where is the CPI reading going to come in next month? Because guess what, people? The reading we got today is already 11 days stale. And if you look at a chart of gasoline, which is really
Only gotten worse.
Yeah, gasoline is down another, I don't know. Let me just double check. Since this CPI period closed, gasoline's down another 11% and change. Okay, so the next month's CPI reading is going to come in showing a big decrease in energy as well. If these are tops, who knows how low CPI goes, right? And then what does that mean for the broader market? And then what are interest rates doing? What's the bond market doing? And what does the bond market mean for other risk asset markets if these are tops? I think that's the way we need to start thinking about it. Start with crude oil first, and let's work our way to the derivatives. Crude oil seems to always be the last one to move, right? You could draw this in different ways, but it's starting to look like a top. We did make new 52-week lows yesterday. Haven't gotten an oversold reading. That kind of stands out for now, right? You always want to see that oversold reading on the completion of a bearish pattern. Crude oil looks like this, right on the brink of collapsing here, completing this top. Let's look at heating oil and gasoline, two big derivatives. Gasoline pretty much already there. Multi-year lows, lowest level since Q1 of 2021, is oversold. This chart's looked really bad for a really long time. And then heating oil. Heating oil always seems to move first. Always seems to be the leading signal. This one looks the worst of all of them, right? So inflation peaked and rolled over a long time ago. Then we've been kind of ranging in these distribution patterns for years now. If these patterns complete, it suggests more cool CPI, lower interest rates, right? Probably higher prices for certain assets or, over others. What do you think? I mean, should we care about the CPI? Should we care about it in the context of these commodities charts? Should we care about it for what it means for interest rates?
Which one of the flations is your favorite flation?
So this would be disinflation.
This would be disinflation. So that would be, correct me if I'm wrong, put on my, I haven't taken an economist class in a long time. Disinflation would be inflation increasing, but at a slower rate.
Yeah, the growth
Very
rate is
good.
positive.
Hey, now, come
the growth
on.
rate is still positive. It's just lower than it was, right? It's just a deceleration.
And then deflation is a decrease in inflation.
It's negative growth rate.
Negative, yes, negative.
Price level is literally falling. It's very bad. It almost.
And then where does the stag fit in? Is that somewhere in the middle?
That's when that happens and growth completely turns to shit. So it's when you have deflation and negative growth at the same time.
It's the worst of both worlds.
So stagflation is the worst.
That's like the end of days.
Shout out Stags.
Yeah.
Speaking of Connecticut, shout out Stags.
Fairfield
Stags, how you doing? Fear the deer.
Cool.
What about the vibe session? Are we still in a vibe session? How does that work?
I think we're probably always in a vibe session.
We're always in a vibe session.
We're going to talk about Oxy, Yosel. We'll talk about Oxy for Hot Corner. We will.
All right. Hit it.
The answer is no, guys.
Wait, Hot Corner now or Hot Corner later?
Let's do it.
Oh, right now.
Yeah,
and then we got to bring Mary on. All right.
Do it.
I was not prepared for this.
Do it again.
So hot right now.
Okay, this is great. Let's just really quickly look through today's hits, and then we have a development that we need to address here.
PSEC keep buying, right?
PSEC, yeah, these guys just keep going after the stock, which is great, but it's not new. ASTS does stand out because this thing's up like 400 something percent, and the insiders just keep coming out and buying it too. Up here at these prices, you could define your risk at like throw up the chart in the ASTS. You define your risk right at like the post SPAC highs. It looks like a pretty textbook retest of that level now. And then Apollo. I like Apollo. I like the asset management space. So that one stands out, even though it is a little bit small, a little bit on the small side for a 4-4. Do we have the ASTS chart? If not, we can go right to, yeah, look at that. Look at that. You can get involved right there. No, JC? I mean, this is either going to be a big winner. This is a good buy or a goodbye.
Well, this ASTS everyone's talking about this thing. This is like this
terrible.
is so hot right now, as I said. 7.3 billion.
Yeah.
Um,
Without knowing anything about these guys, like, aren't they going to have to compete with SpaceX for this business? And isn't that tough to do? I don't know, right? That's my fundamental view of the ASTS, knowing absolutely nothing about it.
Are they a space company trying to go to the moon?
No, they're like space internet, I believe.
Space internet.
Yeah,
So
space
if
internet.
like if you're in space and you just need the access to the internet,
Are the airlines just too cheap to pay these guys so that we can freaking use our phones on the planes?
it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Right?
It's crazy.
I'm on a boat 50 miles offshore. The internet is like lightning fast. How come they can't figure it out when we're up in the air? I'm halfway to Cuba, okay, streaming shows on stock market TV. No problem. Can't fly to Chicago and use my cell phone? Can't text my friends? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do on a plane? Like, what are you literally supposed to do on long plane rides? It is the worst time ever. What do you do?
It's a sad state of affairs there for the airlines.
I try to watch movies. I have a tough time reading books on planes.
Why?
Nah, it's just not for me. I'm uncomfortable because when I'm uncomfortable, I'm unhappy and I don't want to read a book. I'm not going to enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm bringing Mary on.
Please.
Let's get net jets. I didn't get to talk
Hey,
about
Mary.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Nobody wants to talk about oxygen.
So a couple of weeks ago, Mary, you were telling me about the preseason rankings for college football, and I was explaining to you how, it's kind of like sell side analysts and their year-end targets. Like it's just a marketing gimmick for dumb people, right? So now that the season has actually started and games have actually been played, I haven't looked at the rankings, but do you want to fill me in on what those look like?
Nah.
Right.
Yeah, I knew I was going to take some crap for this this week. Let's just remember what happened last year. We had the same conversation, and until January, we are the sitting national champions. So, listen, guys, we lost 8 of our offensive line. Like, come on! Like, this is a rebuilding year. We knew it was a rebuilding year.
When did we know that? Clearly, the
we-
pollsters and the pre-market polls.
We knew it.
Pre-market polls. Listen to me. The preseason polls.
Listen, it's tough winning back-to-back seasons. Especially
Exactly.
when you lose a lot of people. It's really like 99.9999% of teams, they don't repeat. Right?
Is there one team that you know of,
Only-
Strazza, that does repeat?
Only like really great, like the best programs, dynasties repeat. So yeah, listen.
Any
I don't know.
dynasties
Still
you
the
want to mention
winningest
there, Strazza?
program in history. So, no one can take that away yet.
They were also winning championships when there were 4 teams, and it was like Princeton, Fordham, and Michigan. There weren't any teams.
Michigan is the winningest team in terms of just sheer number of wins of all time.
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, Pitt is like one of the greatest college football teams ever." Why? Because Pop Warner won a few championships a century ago.
Is Michigan like the biggest fan base by far in college sports? Michigan football.
I would argue Notre Dame is bigger.
I would argue
Notre Dame is bigger,
Which,
but
I
Michigan's
mean, let's
up
talk
there.
about that game. But
Wow.
Yeah, Notre Dame's bigger because all these people in the Northeast that have like one distant Irish relative, like just become Notre Dame fans.
Right.
yeah, Michigan's up there, but I think Notre Dame probably has us beat with fan base.
Michigan might be number 2.
Might be. Yeah.
Could be.
But it was a fun game on Saturday. And I mean, okay, so obviously we lost. But I mean, being in the big house, win or lose,
Like
it's
bad,
always
like very embarrassing, Mary.
not embarrassing, not great, but a rebuilding year, yes. And quite frankly, I think Texas stands a really good chance of the national championship. They'll definitely be in the conversation for the playoffs and probably top 4. Because I mean, that's where they're sitting right now. They looked good.
12 teams
There's
get in the
nothing more I
playoffs
could
this
say.
year, Mary, by the way.
I know. Now
The
I'm cheering
top
for the
4, I
Lions.
think, get the buys or something like. They get buys and home field.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
But
we
it's
got the
football
Dow
season,
down. We
can't be
got the
mad.
Dow down 500 points today, Mary, with the Nasdaq
Yeah.
flat, which is interesting. Bonds flat as well. What stands out? You consume more research that we put out than anybody else in this world. What do you like?
Yeah, so Bonds is going to hate me because this is not something that I asked him to prepare. You guys were talking about solar earlier, and it was a chart that I looked at Enphase yesterday just because I knew the debate was happening and this was probably going to come up. And it's not something I've taken a position on. It's not something that we talk about all that often. But Enphase against that 100 level, it's just been sideways for a long time. It's getting nice and tight, just in volatility. And I feel like there could be a trade there. So I'm watching that one. Obviously, it's up 4% today. A lot, along with its peers. You can look at FSLR. I just go back to Enphase because that's one that I made a ton of money on, courtesy of All-Star Charts in our research a couple of years ago. And so that one's kind of near and dear to my heart. So I watched that one, and it's on my watch list right now. And against this 9,700, you could take a swing. That's my opinion. And, obviously you guys can jump in with the relative strength and all that kind of technical stuff. But I think it looks interesting. And especially with just the sideways consolidation that it's been doing for a while.
Can you throw up the slide 2, Spencer? Because here's an interesting look at that Enphase. Good call, Mary. What really stands out to me is that you have this massive top that broke and was never able to follow through. Right, Strazza? And like that former support from 21, 22 has turned into really solid resistance, but they're not letting them roll over.
Yeah. Okay. Mine's marked up the exact same way, JC. I think back to what Mary's talking about, how good this stock was just a few years ago. Up 44,000.
A lot of money on it.
Off the 2017 lows. You can show the other chart if you want.
Wasn't this like the greatest winner?
Dude, if solar energy stocks are not zeros, this probably isn't a top here. And then you think of like where the Invesco solar index is, TAN, just like hanging out, holding those lows. Like, listen, I'm long Enphase, I'm long First Solar, I'm long Sunrun, I'm long SunNova. I'll tell you why. If a certain person wins the election, I'm going to get slaughtered in all the banks that I own. I'm going to get trashed on that trade.
Which one, Harris or Trump?
If Harris wins, banks are fucked. Yeah, I think it's a real problem, to be honest, because I think they were pricing in.
Do you honestly think that she has any chance at all to win? You think that she has a chance at all?
Dude, Trump's a disaster. Last night was bad. I thought he got absolutely whooped. Yeah.
She's much, last night she was very well prepared and very well spoken compared to, Trump kind of blabbers, goes off on these tangents and doesn't come back to a point. As
an unhinged old man, like absolutely crazy. It's a problem. He's blowing it.
Isn't that what he is? Isn't he an unhinged old man? I mean,
yeah, you thought he would have gotten better at this shit after 8 years, but I don't know.
Isn't he? He's 80? Is that how old he is? He's 80?
78, I think. So listen.
And how old is Harris?
If I'm in one election trade that I'm, a little bit concerned about, rather than dump all of that and say, forget it, and take my ball and go home, I'm just going to get on the other side on another election trade and hope that they neutralize each other, right? And we have stops and stuff like that. We'll manage our risk responsibly. But that's the idea there. I like to overthink things, so that's what I'm overthinking from an election trade standpoint. So
she's only 50. She's 59. She looks pretty good. She looks good.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what she looks like.
Can we talk about Chewy too? While we're here?
I'd love to talk about Chewy.
Yeah. So this one,
Speaking of eating your pets, right?
The chat was on fire
crazy
today. And I just want to say shout out Dawson for the best comment in the chat today. I think somebody said that lady really did eat her cat though.
I still don't know what you guys are talking about, but I do think it's funny.
I'm sure the memes and the recaps will be going around on Twitter today. But Chewy, yeah, so this one I have been long for a little bit and got a little bit more long yesterday just because we were closing right above the VWAP anchored from the June highs. And so we have had this on a freshly squeezed list. I know we've covered it in a variety of places in our research, and we've got a downtrend that looks like it's getting ready to break. So like I said, we finally closed above the VWAP from June, and I added more to my position just yesterday. So this one has my eye, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Chewy. Great
How
call.
about this Oracle?
Yeah.
Listen, was this recess?
No?
Nope.
Okay. You want it to be?
Let's run the recess. I want to talk about Warren Buffett. We got throw up the chart, the Buffett zone chart. I don't care who owns 40% of outstanding shares. This is not a chart that we buy. We sell this. We're selling this. We're out. We've been out. We sold the puts. No, yeah, we sold some premium last time we touched this level this summer. Here's what happened with Warren Buffett and Occidental Petroleum. His behavior was very clear with this stock for over 2 years. Every time the price would drop below 60, he would be out buying it in massive size to the point where he actually acted as support for this chart over and over and over again. All of these yellow circles are days where we got a Form 4 filing saying Berkshire came out and bought more Oxy. And when they were buying Oxy, they're buying at 50, 60 million, hundreds of millions of dollars at a time, putting a floor in the stock and holding this chart up, right? Like they created this polarity zone. Guess what happened last time? Oxy dropped below 60. No Form 4s. And now we're well below 60 and still no Form 4s.
And he also owns a lot. Like, how much more could he possibly buy? So there's that also, right?
The next Form 4 we get from Warren Buffett will be a Form 4S, not a Form 4P. Think about what he's doing. They make broad market calls at Berkshire. They reduced their Apple significantly. They reduced a bunch of their bank exposure significantly. They're selling insurance stocks. You know what else they've been selling in recent months? Chevron. You think he's selling Chevron and then going out and going to buy more Occidental? You think he's making some sort of like specific call that Occidental is like a special oil and gas company? No, he's just investing in energy. He makes broad market calls. He's not trying to pick winners. He's not going to get long one energy stock and short another. If he's selling Chevron, he ain't going to come out and buy Occidental. So I think it's over. They are losing their institutional support here. This is a top. You can't own it. You can short it. You can't own it.
Right.
Listen, when you go back and you study all of Warren Buffett's buys and sells, I mean, he's made some terrible transactions throughout history. If there's anything consistent about Warren Buffett is that he makes a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah.
Granted.
He admits it. Yeah.
Granted, he obviously makes great decisions, one of the greatest decision maker of all time, but that doesn't change the fact that he sells stocks that then go up 20x over the next decade. That happens all the time. Warren Buffett makes a horrible,
I think
horrible
he has said, him and Munger both, like for every good decision they make like 4 bad ones, right? Like,
right.
Warren Buffett's net worth would be at least double of what it is today had he not bought Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is one of the worst, if not the worst purchase in Warren Buffett's entire career.
See, but Spencer makes a good point. This is the case with most investors or traders. Just talk to these people. It's not strange. It's about magnitude, not win-loss rate, right? It's how big are your winners and how tight do you keep your losers, right? So like you said, Spencer, 1 winner for every 4. That sounds great. 25%. Give me that win rate. Fantastic. It's about magnitude. So that's just how
you sound like a CMT textbook.
Yeah.
Shout out Uncle Warren. He's the man.
Mary's got some pictures for us. What do we got here?
Yep.
See you, Mary.
Yes. So I dropped some pictures from Michigan from the game day, just because, this was my big event this last weekend. There's our banner, home of the 2023 national champions. So it was a fun game day, even though we lost. I was actually standing right next to some Texans. They were quite lovely. And we had a fun time kind of ragging each other most of the game until it just became really sad. And we just decided we did stay to the end, but then we quietly exited. The other picture that I brought along was I actually saw Michael Phelps while I was waiting for the band to come out of one of the buildings. There's Michael Phelps. I did see Matthew McConaughey and Derek Jeter. They were crossed on the other side of the field, so I was just too far to get a decent picture. But there's Michael Phelps, so he was there, so Michigan alum. So it's a fun, great game day. It was cool, and it was football weather. It was just perfection. It was a great day. Would have
How
been
far
better
do you
with the
live
win.
from there, Mary? How far do you live?
About 2.5 hours. All expressway, which is nice.
A lot of traffic or no? You got to get there mad early.
On game day, yeah. Well, and especially if there's a Michigan State game the same day, same time, we have to go through Lansing, which is in the center, and so that can slow traffic down quite a bit. But there was no game.
Go to those games, or people are embarrassed to go to state games?
They do.
Yeah. What about those fighting Chippewas? How are they doing this year?
I don't know. I haven't followed the Chippewas. I don't know how they're doing this year. But actually, funny enough, I've got Fire Up Chips. I've got a kid that I know that is going to be going and kicking for their team next year. So he got recruited. Yeah.
Was your sister in the marching band as well?
Both Carrie and Brett were marching chips.
Marching Chips. Okay.
The marching chips. Chip. Ooh.
That's
how they would start.
What did Carrie play?
Saxophone.
She played the saxophone. I didn't know Carrie plays the sax.
Well, up through college and never again.
I'm sure she still got a little bit, no?
I mean, she still has the sax. She tried to pawn it off on one of my kids who's playing the clarinet. And, she's been pushing to have him.
Wow. See, I always liked Carrie. I think I like her a lot more now. I love the saxophone. And then Brett was a rusty trombone guy?
The trombone player, yeah.
Cool.
All right. On that note, we're done. So thanks to David Zarling. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, chat. Smash the like. Email us. Click the links in the description. Get the hot corner. Do all that stuff. We'll make money. Ride your winners. Cut your losers. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Grab a piece of cherry pie.
Oh, hell yeah.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs.